Hey, 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 Laura J. wiping mascara away today for the lashings that I will not be getting tomorrow, which would have been the trial where all would have been tried in order to have me deny who I really am in order to be less than I am, which would be a person which I have, but I am not, but I am implied to be a surety for. And the same is true for you. Did you know that? Did you even know that surety was applicable to you who has a person but is not your person? And if you believed that you were your person or were a person, then you are under the grand deception that I had said when I spoke on stage in Simcoe, Ontario, the day when I received the complaint that was then a failure to comply with it was an individual failure to comply with the Reopening Ontario Act 2020. I believe it was subsection 10.1, which was about gathering at the time of lockdowns that were imposed by mandates and edicts that I do not subscribe to, I did not agree to play in the act of, and I refuse to go along with when it is causing not only myself harm, loss, and fraud, but also all of my fellow men and women. This is the naked truth with Laura J. Here in the tub with my notebook beside, because I have some serious organization to kind of work through and I'm so excited, which is why I've been a little bland on my postings. Not actually, I've shared a lot of other people's content, which is amazing and I get great pleasure from, so then I try to pass that on to ripple into your world in the way that I hope you do with others too. That being said though, I haven't really been in the mode to create content of my own specifically because I've been too fun having my own life. And when you are in your private capacity, enjoying things in private with ones that you want to have private memories with, well, then you don't want to share that. You don't want the invasion of what becomes public territory or domain where others can comment or complain and say, I saw you there, I saw what you were doing, I didn't like that, or I did like that. And then we get all of this external input that starts to define our self-image. Can you relate to this? Okay, well here's the reality, or the realization that I was writing down before I dropped that over there so it doesn't fall in. And now my calendar too, because I do know what is true, which is that I'll make magic happen today. And so will you, if you choose to see that the magic of the moment is presence. For that is the present you give the one that you are with when you are with them, you see. So I'm going to say tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you have done a review, if you have read my book, Fully Committed, The Sacred Sojourn of Now, if you have read my book and want to leave a review for others who will be able to make a more informed choice or decision. It started to sound like deformed, which would be interesting because that is the deformation of character, is another way that the deforming of the identity before in order to then get there, which reminds me of the cross. And I know it's controversial, but you expect this of me now. Clarissa Pinkola Estes has a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves, and it's excellent because it talks about the wild woman archetype. But why I love it is because she talks about what I came to learn is called descansos, where we actually mark and cross on all of the places where the past aspects and versions of ourselves died, and basically we left a part of ourselves behind. We didn't know how to process it. It was too much. We were told we were too much. We rejected, denied, compressed, suppressed, repressed, depressed, tried to pretend something didn't exist when it did, and it got stuck in that not now moment. But everything can always only be worked through, aka moved, such as what they do within the court system too, Everything needs to move, and it can only do so in the now, which is why the legal fiction always takes place in a not now moment, which was why I didn't attend the first 2 hearings, having claimed my right not to. I'm just going to do what I did in that interview where I talked about being your authentic self, so that you can only see my knees instead of me having to crouch, so I'm more comfortable. So, back to where we were at. Where was that? Making sure we don't expose ourselves publicly, that which is called our private parts, because we're supposed to keep those in private, right? And then we bring them out into the public, and then obviously with porn, that has made us think that the body is to be sexualized, when actually naturism and naturalism are different, not the same, nor equal, nor even of the same subject, I believe, because I believe it is naturism that is about love of nature, whereas naturalism is the love of being natural in nature and not, but just wanting to generally be able to be free to be yourself without restriction or limitation, which is what the common law is. So it all ties together, as do the messages when those rabbit holes become linked to the foxhole that will take us to the truth, the heart of it, which is earth in a different order. Heart, you see? At Soulshine Festival, I spent 8 hours doing healing sessions in the healing forest, and I was so grateful to be able to be one of the practitioners who offered my services for free to people who wanted to benefit from calling your power back to the present moment, such as what I'll be doing at Ascension Fair on Saturday, November 5th and November 6th, which is the Sunday. I do believe, I don't have the calendar with me now because I did drop it so that I could use my arms in order to hold my knees up over my breasts so that this message doesn't get misconstrued for what cannot be seen. And then suddenly have like a slip of some sort, and that be the reason that some would have watched the whole video, and then others would say, oh, but Laura, it seems you've been more sexualized since Soulshine Festival. What has been going on? And the reality, and upon reflection, is the fact that that was when I then got just more comfortable with talking about my desire for a relationship, because I met someone I think is spectacular. And so I am now more open to talk about relationships and sexuality and things, though keeping things private. Like, I don't want to leak energy from within the sacred container of the sacred union that I now have with a man that I love and get to love more every day. Right? That's the way we want to play with our partners in life, is it not? And then some who don't understand the context of what I don't specifically express specifically, simply because, A, it's no one's business, and if it is, I want to know why. How are they going to profit off of love I have with a man? And secondly, I want to keep that sacred container uncontaminated and unpierced by the peeping eyes of the public, because once the public's eyes are in the private area of my life, suddenly there are eyes on forms that are trying to contract my substance to conform to those forms that I do not accept nor appreciate, nor will I allow or permit to continue without my making claims against the man or woman that is moving that I from the public into the private space that I have claimed the right to be the keeper of. I choose to be a woman in my private capacity with all common law rights reserved at all times, with having also claimed the right to lawfully self-govern, which means I need no one to tell me which man I can date. I choose the man I can date, which is probably why the message has become so much more sexualized, because at Soulshine Festival, I made the connection with mandates to the man I can date. That's probably where it happened. Okay, so that's part of it. And then the comfort level, and also the ability to actually talk about it because he's okay with it, right? So it's just like those variables are factors, and also now the realization upon reflection, which is how we kind of move things from right here to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, to there. And then also give others context to be able to see why things are occurring in a different way than they were before, because there was a blockage that was moved, which was part of probably the reason that I was going through ascension symptoms for about 2-3 weeks after Soulshine. Plus, then that was when I started connecting with Jordy, and so I have just been keeping it quiet so that we could just enjoy one another when we can, and then hustle and work and do my best to help people learn about the book and be able to easily gain access to not only it, but the concepts within it, which is the most important part to me. Which is why I have been leading a special practice pilot program over the last 7 weeks. This is the 7th week tonight. And I'm excited to say there's only 2 more. Before then, we start the next series, which will only be 4 weeks. And it will be about confidence during the holidays. It is about really recognizing all of the ways that we are trained to externalize our power through consumerism, which then challenges our creativity. And what I would love to do is challenge all of us to get more creative with the gifts that we give this Christmas. To also recognize that it is presence itself that is the greatest present. And so actually learning how to call yourself present and to hold that sacred space with another, to be able to allow their dreams, hopes, ambitions, fears, desires, all of it to unfold within the safety of a relationship that is like a vault, which Brene Brown actually worked into a really fantastic acronym called Braving It, that I will share another day because I have not learned that one off by heart yet. Though, as you know, I do love my acronyms, yo. So, I know that I left a few stories unfinished, and I know that I also recently told of the story in English class, my final seminar, when I just couldn't take all of the side trailing and tracking that never got back to the point or the fact that the one that was leading the course had started with. And it was like, I'm interested to know the answer, like just please get back to it. But what I know, having now been in the theoretical realm since 2005 when my academic studies began, 2011 when I became a certified coach, teacher, speaker with the John Maxwell team, and then all of the other energy modalities that I've trained in since. All of those have really helped prepare me to help you know how to hold that sacred container of respect, love, compassion, kindness. Did I mention respect? Because it's pretty important. Because if we don't focus on respect, we will keep tripping on it on our way to self-actualization, which is what we've been trained to want. And yes, it's nice. It's very nice when we are self-actualized and living our best life. But the even greater thing is to realize that self-actualization is achieved by the journey. It's through the process of achieving those destination points that we give so much emphasis to, when the reality is it's the whole thing that really matters in the scheme of things. And so if we get back to it's the little things that add up over time that create the bigger picture, and then we go also back to the fact that when we talk about self-image and the reconstruction of it, what we must also see is that we must be the magi's of our own realms. The domain of your world, the www.url, that is the domain of your dominion, where you have full dominion over the kingdom within you as the king who is asking the questions as king, to be able to stand in your power position of now, which, as I mentioned, is why the legal fiction draws us out of now. So there were 2 summons that were received. Both were, what was it? So it's 2 summons that have been received for the same offense or implied offense for my person, which is not me, which I have used more than 20 notices lawfully that have not received response. And I did on the 16th of October send in a compensation claim. So there will be more coming, which is exciting because it's not over until the fat lady sings, and basically we call the king to ring the bell and say the game is over. The play, the act is done. In fact, the Emergencies Measures Act should never have been, in fact, evoked in the first place because there was no jurisdiction by a de facto government. And the de facto law it then did impose upon the people who did not realize that they were not what they were implied to be sureties for, which is how we have become slaves and need not be no longer than we already have. What do you see? The lights around me change as the frequency increases, and I could indeed put on an accent that would allow me to expand my breathing and speaking and narrating, and now I sing, and then I think I heard a little meow beside me, because that is how the little ones are healing, keeping their cage small so they cannot move a lot, and that is how you keep their meat tender. If I were to be cooking the cats, I have heard that there are countries where in fact you do not want to eat out of the black bowls, because that can be the dogs and cats of the streets. So in fact, don't eat from a black bowl unless you don't care what kind of animal you are eating. It is true some might be horrified to find that, and yet it is a fact, and some may try it for the experience. But what I want to say before I go, and this naked truth-telling time, is that tomorrow I'll finish the story, about how my trial was cancelled because my case was stayed. Because of how I played my hand. It's not about the hand you're dealt, it's how you use it and how you are willing to face off your opponents. I took their suits off so they had to look me in the eye, and then the eye I put on the page became the one that I could see, which was their name that tracks back to them, because I took their suits off and said, it's you, not what you do, that I care of, because you have no standing in the matter that's concerning me. And who the queen, who is she? I heard Ramona Del Dulo, or however you say it, has said that she was the Queen of Canada, but it's actually Her Majesty, so I guess they're different titles, so it could be possible, but it wouldn't be, because you wouldn't have 2 presidents of a company. But I guess in a family, you do with a husband and wife, or mother, father, however it goes, man and woman is best. Yet when we customize things, then we like to take on titles, oftentimes, so we know who we are and how we relate to others. Can't you see? That's the game we play. We like to take on different roles. And so if you like variety, spice it up by giving yourself a different title and the ones you love to, but be kind with them, because they stick sometimes. It's true, it's what you do, and how you do it. This is Laura J. signing off for today, and to say and to say sometimes you just need to clear your throat or you'll falter through the whole thing, and other times you must ring it in with what you were doing as you were before you changed your ways, as we must do today. Today is the only day that comes. Tomorrow will be today when we get to there. It's why reality is realistic evidence appearing Legit in tomorrow's yesterday, can't you say? Yesterday's tomorrow's. Yesterday's tomorrow's past and 2 days past too, but it is the present when we're in it. The past was when we were in a not now moment. It was then, now it's not, because now is the only time we're ever in, if there's such a thing. So now that I've even confused myself, but not really, you see, when we go round in circles, if we see the circle's actually a spiral, then we see we've made progress, because we started to see things from a different level. New levels, new devils, new rent, new neighbors, new views. Can't you see new, 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 new? Well, it's time to bring the new now into the now. Somehow, I do believe it's by calling the young leaders forward to say, be yourself. Don't show your bits, because your tits ain't no one's business but your own, unless you're a man, and then they're okay. Anyway, we won't go on that tirade today, but it is to say, be yourself. There's 3 pointing back to me, so I am unabashedly. I'm Laura J. Namaste. Namago for today. See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Please and thanks. Meetup is where you can find the details. ljeh.ca is the way you do so. So hey, look forward to playing with you. And if you have not done your review, please do, please do, please do. It's just on Amazon or Google, Gmail. I just saw when I did a search for my book, Fully Committed, it'll show a whole bunch, and then it'll say a little piece where it says write a review. Just do that, please, and then send me a screenshot, and I'm going to create a draw, and I'm going to announce it tomorrow, and then I look forward to seeing more reviews coming in, but I hope I do have at least a few to read, because that would be great. Yay. A rising tide lifts all boats, and baby, this boat is rising.